So I'm here with Paul Roberts in the McSweeney Centre,
Yeah,
right next to Clifton Cemetery, just over your shoulder there, if you can see it underneath all the buildings. Paul, we've been chatting a little bit about this community asset transfer stuff, and this is a project here that sort of grew out of another project in the New Lodge. Can you just tell us a little bit about how that original project began?
sure. Well, the Ashton Centre came about, it was early to mid 80s. Middle of the conflict, the local community, there was very high unemployment. There was a lot of shootings, bombings. People felt quite alienated from the state. So local people came together and launched a share drive. And this involved local women mainly going round the doors, collecting £1 a week and £35 bought you a share. So over 720 people contributed to the share drive. And that had allowed us to set up a company which eventually bought the land on which the Ashton Centre now stands.
And the company was constituted as a co-op,
Yeah, it's a community cooperative and it's an industrial provident.
and that structure stays the same as it today, as it was
Yeah,
then?
it's the same industrial provident, owns the McSweeney Centre here and owns our development on Dunkirk Gardens where we've developed shops and apartments.
Yeah, so tell us a bit about that. That's quite a substantial project.
Yeah, it was a derelict site which had been a peace walk on the Dunkirk Gardens between New Lodge and Tigers Bay. We got the site from DSD on a development brief, paid £100,000 for it, and built shops and apartments. And now we have services located there, and all the apartments are full.
So, that's kind of how it began. It's much bigger than that now. You seem, you've grown right across, not away from New Lodge, but right across North Belfast.
Yeah, Ashton through the Ashton Community Trust delivers services right across North Belfast. And we have a wide range of services now. We would deliver training and employability services, health services. We have 3 childcare centres in North Belfast employing 70 people. Overall now we're employing over 130 people, and Ashton Community Trust has a turnover of £3.5 million.
Now, for those who don't know, watching this video for the first time, New Lodge is pretty much exclusively a Catholic area, and one of the notorious things, I suppose, about North Belfast is its patchwork quilt. Are you just tending to work with single identity Catholic communities?
No, we would provide services right across North Belfast. We have the Lemus contract from Dell to work with the long-term unemployed and get them into employment. And we're currently delivering the most successful project in the north. And that's right across North Belfast. We have 19 outreach centres based in the different localities.
You said successful. How are you measuring that success?
Well, it's funded through output-related funding, so it's very directly measured by the amount of people you get into employment, and then the amount that are in sustained employment.
And how have you done it?
I think what we try and do is work with local people, see what their skill sets are, but also to work with employers. We have an employer liaison officer who works with employers to see what their skills needs are, what jobs they might have coming up, and then we try and give people the skills then to get those jobs.
Now, you're saying you're delivering these services right across North Belfast, but New Lodge, I think you rightly described it as kind of almost cut off or alienated from wider society. You're actually getting people from other communities to come into the Ashton Centre, which, as I understand, is quite close to the centre of that area.
Yeah, I think in part it's what we're trying to do across the board. I think, and not just ourselves. Obviously, lots of other groups in North Belfast with whom we've worked try to do this as well. Where we're not necessarily saying that something has to take place in a neutral venue. We're saying that things can happen in New Lodge, they can happen in Mount Vernon, they can happen in Ardown, they can happen in Tigers Bay. They don't have to happen in somewhere that's neutral for everyone. But we want to break down those barriers and fears and suspicions and break down the walls, I suppose, especially the walls in people's heads.
Presumably you're having some success in that?
Well, we are. It's probably one of the most one of the best examples of it is our work around the arts. We initially started an organisation, New Lodge Arts, which obviously, as the name says, was working in the New Lodge. So it's set up an arts academy and different things there. It's now working right across North Belfast, and is organising events throughout the year that young people from North Belfast are participating in. You know, we have Celebrate North Belfast events. We have the North Belfast Xmas Factor, which has been going now for 3 years. And these are delivered in community venues across North Belfast. So young people are getting in and out of areas for rehearsals, working with choreographers, wherever. And it's not about whether that area is orange or green. It's about what we're learning today.
Asset transfer, that's the central sort of thing around the discussion that we're trying to create on Slugger. Obviously, you've been able to delivering a huge amount of services, huge turnover for a community organisation. Is this the way to go?
There's no doubt for Ashton Centre, having the assets has been important. It has allowed us to grow and develop. Having the original Ashton Centre has allowed us to develop where we now have 4 other centres in North Belfast. So definitely, assets do give an organisation an advantage. Assets transfer, again, I think is a good thing. I think there are big opportunities that can come about through asset transfer. I suppose I do have some caveats on that. Not all assets will be assets. They will be potential liabilities. It's also important then that there's an understanding of that and people have the skills to make use of the asset. I think also people are going to have to understand that it isn't the case of you're going to be given this free thing that is suddenly going to be hugely valuable. A large part of it's derelict land or buildings. There's probably a fair reason why it has been derelict and vacant for so long. Really to do with market failure. So we're involved in regeneration, and I assume other organisations want to be or are. So, but regeneration is not easy work. So you are trying to change the whole market, the whole climate of the area, and it won't happen overnight. I was saying to you earlier, but this building we're sitting in, it opened just less than 3 years ago, but I've been working on it since 1994. So these things don't happen quickly, and people need to understand that it is not going to be this panacea that is going to finance the sector for the next 30 years.
You were saying like you're taking over the New Lodge Youth Centre.
Well, I suppose that's an example, of someone asked me, oh, is that asset transfer? And no, we're quite clear that is going to be a liability, that is going to be a cost for us. It's going to be a benefit to the community because we're going to deliver much better services than are currently being delivered. But it is not going to generate any income.
Let me pick you up on that. How can you be so sure you're going to do a better job than was done before?
Well, it was a failing youth club. It wasn't getting any numbers in. Young people just weren't going to it. One thing in the New Lodge there isn't a shortage of is young people. So if you have a youth club and you're not getting young people into it, so we're confident in that in other services we deliver, we're interacting with young people. We've held a consultation event with young people about the youth club and about what might be done in it, and so we're very confident that we'll do a much better job. We're going to invest in it as well. We're going to have it open much more than it previously was.
So obviously you're based in the community. You have these connections. Those are 2 clear advantages you have over a statutory body, which often just relies on one key youth worker. And if that works, it's great, and if it doesn't, it doesn't.
But
what else? What other things can an organisation like you bring to assets, whether they're youth clubs or anything else that were formerly run by statutory bodies?
I think, in the example of the youth club, what we will bring is a much more flexible approach, and I think that we do that, in all our buildings. We make them very accessible to the community.
That's great, Paul. Thanks a million. Cheers.